It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning and welcome. Eric is out. I'm not. I'm here. All right. What's some of the breaking news actually from last night? This would be number one. The House Oversight Committee and James Comer will not be holding FBI Director Wray in contempt of Congress. That apparently is not going to happen. The FBI agreed to permit members of the Oversight Committee to review the unclassified informant file that allegedly links Biden to a $5 million bribery scheme. Wednesday evening, Comer canceled the 9 a.m. Thursday vote to hold Wray in contempt. In exchange, the FBI agreed to allow the members to review the document, a demand on which Comer insisted from nearly the beginning of the negotiations. Quote, here's what he said: after weeks of refusing to even admit that the record existed, the committee stated in a press release, the FBI has caved and is now allowing all members of the Oversight and Accountability Committee to review this unclassified record that memorializes a confidential human sources conversations with a foreign national who claimed to have bribed then Vice President Joe Biden. Now, that being said, the other news that came out yesterday is Comer told everybody what the country is that offered the bribe. What was, who did the foreign source represent? Ukraine. So the $5 million bribery scheme allegedly linked to Joe Biden concerns family business deals in Ukraine, Comer revealed on Monday. Comer told Just the News, and that's John Solomon, said, yes, it is Ukraine. This Form 1023 involves a business person from Ukraine who had allegedly sent a bribe, a substantial bribe, to then Vice President Joe Biden. Oh, my gosh. What if it's Burisma? Wow. That's the first thing that comes to your mind, right? The Biden family frequently visited Ukraine for business purposes. Then Vice President Joe Biden served as the Obama administration's Ukrainian point person on U.S. foreign policy. He visited Ukraine 6 times while serving as vice president. We know that Hunter Biden was on the board of the Ukrainian energy company without any experience in energy whatsoever in April of 2014. That's when he joined the board at that particular point. He had no experience in the energy sector. He earned $83,000 per month to be on the board of the energy company. So, that's just, whoa, now that we know it's Ukraine. The other thing is, we talk about, and Eric and I have always asked this question because we knew way back then, because we knew that the Obama administration was extremely concerned about the perception of a conflict of interest when Biden was the point person for Ukraine and Hunter Biden was on the board. I mean, this was out. Oh man, this was out years ago. On that one, and this was actually emails from the Obama State Department where they were concerned about what was going on. And we talked about this a long time ago because this was part of the discussion during the first impeachment, and that's why Eric and I always said, because he was impeached because he said there should be an investigation, that the Ukrainian president should do an investigation on the Biden family. And so the reason he got impeached was he was interfering in an election because it was perceived at that point that Biden was running or he would probably run, or he was a lead candidate. I forgot what it was at that point during the impeachment because that would have been 2019. And so we had said at the time, well, no, it's legit. You can look at it either way. You know, you can sit there and say, well, he's doing it just to get Biden out. Okay, maybe, but we know the State Department was concerned. We know Hunter Biden was working for Burisma. We know he had no knowledge of energy. And again, it was the State Department's concern, the Obama State Department, on what Joe Biden, that how bad it looked for the Obama administration that they were doing it. So you could always make the case it was legit. Now we know, we said with everything that we know since then, we know now that it is legit, that he had there was a legit national security concern. So, I mean, it just adds up to, okay, we had Russia collusion. Basically, the President Trump set up by the Hillary campaign. We know that happened. First impeachment, looks like, okay, everything is now targeting that there was corruption between the president, Hunter Biden, and Ukrainian businesses and or the Ukrainian government. We know that now. I mean, that's what the allegation apparently is stating. So they get to look at it. I don't know if they're going to look at it today or whatever, but they will get the whole committee will be able to look at it. We know that it is about Ukraine. And, I know the other thing I wanted to bring up. The other thing is now with President Trump being told, former President Trump being told that he is under criminal investigation on the classified documents. Remember, James Comer said they believe that one of the documents found at Biden's home was related to business dealings with Ukraine. And this is Biden's home, where Hunter Biden rented that home. And one of the documents that was found apparently outside of a binder was something that they believe was used to do some type of business transaction with Ukraine. So this thing it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. The other thing that we found out yesterday, because we had talked about this, and it's important to make sure we give you an update on it, because we have said, look, we've done this across the board. When we don't know, we say, okay, what are the possibilities? And so yesterday we said, because Jamie Raskin, the Republican, after he saw the document, came out and said that there's nothing there. That first off, this is just hearsay, which of course hearsay doesn't apply when you're doing an investigation. Hearsay only applies to a criminal conviction at that point. So that was thrown out real quickly. But he said, nope. From what he saw and what he talked to the FBI about, that Bill Barr, who was then Trump's attorney general, Bill Barr stopped the investigation because there was nothing there. And so there's nothing here, nothing there. Bill Barr stopped, the Republican Barr stopped the investigation. And we said either Raskin is lying or Comer is lying. They're the only two possibilities, and we should find out very soon. And we were saying, why isn't Comer immediately coming out and stating he's lying? We didn't know at that point that Bill Barr had already talked to the Federalist.com and told them, no, that didn't happen. We never stopped the investigation. We just turned it over to the other federal attorney, but we did not stop the investigation. It was still active. So what Comer said was the truth, which is the investigation is still ongoing. It has not been disproven. And Jamie Raskin, the Democrat from Maryland, I said Wisconsin earlier. Why did I say Wisconsin? But Raskin was the one who was lying on it, as he has lied before about Trump and Russia collusion also. So I don't know why you would state such an obvious lie that could so easily be disproven. And yesterday Comer said that the Democrats are lying, and I'm assuming that it included Raskin because it was about that allegation about Bill Barr. So that seems to be settled. And I did do a Google search about an hour ago, and I didn't see where Raskin said, no, I'm doubling down. I was right on this. Maybe he'll say it today, But with Barr coming out and saying that didn't happen, that's pretty telling. Because it's pretty easy to find out if the investigation was still ongoing. You have multiple witnesses that say, well, no, it didn't stop. Bill Barr never stopped it. And the other thing is that I noticed yesterday, this just popped to the top of my mind, and Eric and I have talked about the fact of, wow, it's really interesting how quiet the Democrats are on this. Until Raskin came out with that lie, which now looks like, okay, it was a pretty obvious lie, because it's something that can be easily proven or disproven. But it's like nobody's really put themselves on the line for the president. There's nothing about, the whistleblowers are really nothing. And I said, isn't that interesting compared to the whistleblower for the whole UFOs thing, where the Pentagon almost immediately came out and said, that's not true. There is no organization in the government that has recovered extraterrestrial craft with extraterrestrial human beings inside. That hasn't happened. And so they were so quick to defend that. And it's like, here we're talking about the president and a $5 million bribe, and the whistleblowers and the Democrats are basically quiet and not, absolutely passionate. And I'm talking about the FBI. And that was our key. The FBI didn't come out. The Department of Justice didn't come out. In fact, as Comer said again yesterday, that the FBI denied its existence until they told Wray, we saw it. So the FBI has been stalling on doing it, and nobody's defending the FBI for stalling on it. So all just interesting points to make, and we'll see if more dots are connected over the next couple of days. But the fact that it's Ukraine is really, really interesting, because if it turns out that it's, well, I'll say that's a bombshell to begin with, that it's Ukraine. Now, who is the business client? Because anyway, it would be bad if there's a bribe. But if it's Burisma, boom. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Yes, nationally, it appears condition ratings for the nation's pastures and rangelands are improving.
And that's more reflective of some of the rain that we saw back in May, especially across the nation's midsection.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says, as of this past Sunday,
45% of the nation's rangeland and pastures rated good to excellent, up 2 points from the previous week. And just 20% very poor to poor. That's down 2 points from last week's 22%.
So an overall improvement, but not everywhere.
The short-term dryness is really taking a toll on grass growth in states like Missouri and Michigan. 47% very poor to poor in Missouri. Michigan coming in at 39% very poor to poor.
Pennsylvania, 46% of pastures are in the poor to very poor category there. Without rain, Rippey says expect next week's report to show worsening pasture and rangeland conditions. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report is made possible by Cenex Roadmaster XL Premium Diesel and Citgo Lubricants.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. He's not here. I'm Gary McNamara. I am here. Well, Mike Pence is in.
The first step to turning America around is ending this disastrous presidency. So here in Iowa, we must resolve that Joe Biden will never be reelected as president of the United States.
So, yeah, he had a crowd that sounded good. I mean, it's the way that you do it. He was interviewed later on, and I think it was on CNN, where he said that they started talking about the classified documents. He said, no, he said, I was wrong. Biden was wrong. Trump was wrong. And said, Trump. He didn't say Biden shouldn't be prosecuted. He just said Trump shouldn't be prosecuted. Well, at least in the audio I saw, he might have said Biden too. But again, he said Trump should not be. We know more about Trump, though, than we do about, we don't know anything about the Biden investigation at all. We don't know a thing. So, but he said, no, nobody should do it. He goes, we were all wrong. None of us should have had it like that, but nobody should prosecute because that Trump has been, you think about it across the board. You look at, the Russia collusion. You look at the impeachments, all of it, bogus. And, and he knows it. Pence knows it. So where does Pence go? I don't know. He'll be out there doing it. I don't know I don't know what niche of Republicans he gets. Now, everything I say when I make these predictions, because we don't like making predictions, but you look at it right now, it's based on everything we know today, what we know today. Things can change. But, I look at Christie and I look at Pence. They don't stand a chance. Meanwhile, Chris Christie and Trump were going back and forth on Wednesday. Christie called Trump juvenile and a baby after Trump went after him with fat jokes. Look, he's juvenile. He's a baby. Only children talk like that. He never said that about me when he offered me the White House chief of staff. Christie told Brett Baer. He never said that to me when he offered me Secretary of Homeland Security twice. He never said that about me when he offered me Secretary of Labor. I wasn't any of those things then. Look, the minute you speak out against him, Brett, you know what he does. He lashes out and back at you like a child. And if you or I were raising that child, we'd send him to their room, not to the White House. Following the official launch of Christie's second presidential campaign Thursday, Trump made multiple social media posts that appeared to mock the former governor's weight. How many times did Christie use the word small? Does he have a psychological problem with size? Trump wrote. Actually, his speech was small and not very good. It rambled all over the place, and nobody had a clue of what he was talking about. Hard to watch, boring, and that's what you get from a failed governor who left the office with a 7% approval rating and then got run out of New Hampshire. This time it won't be any different. He's right on the presentation, though. We said it yesterday. It was, I thought it was a horrible way to announce. You do it like Pence did it. You don't do it like DeSantis did it. Pence at least did it the right. It's not going to get him anywhere, but at least did it the right way. It looked big. There's people. The camera angles were great. The background was great. For Pence, the American flags on one side and the pride flags on the other side were great for Pence. I made up something in that last sentence. Can you figure out what it was? I lied in that last sentence. Can anybody figure out what it was? But it's not going to go anywhere. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and how does Pence, because we know Christie now is going to attack Trump. They're going to go at it. Will Pence, and will that force the other candidates? Will they feel they have to do that? Or will it be, I just don't see, does it do Mike Pence any good to attack Christie? Does it do Christie any good to attack Pence? It might do them good to go after DeSantis to try to pull some numbers off of him. But probably in politics, you always go after the big guy. No, I meant the big guy voting-wise. That wasn't a fat joke. Or poll-wise, I meant, not voting-wise.
Hi, I'm Eric Harley. Join me today through Saturday, June 10th, for the 41st annual Shell Rotella Super Rigs at Camplex in Gillette, Wyoming. All the details are at redeyeradioshow.com.
Thank you, Eric. I'm here. Eric's there. I'm just laughing. We're just chuckling that it's like in the comment, well, Trump, in essence, going after, trying to do fat jokes against Christie. And it's like, he's not exactly, I don't think anybody's ever called Trump string bean. Everything is comparable, though. Right? Everything's a comparison. Everything is relative. Christie is bigger than he is. Stop the fat shaming. Oh, man. I'll tell you one thing. We're doomed, but this election season's going to be fun to cover. All right. In other news, we had mentioned the other day that Gavin Newsom talking about possible kidnapping charges, that they're looking at kidnapping charges for, Ron DeSantis in Florida. And the DeSantis administration responded by showing they have they take a lot of videos of the migrants. And by the way, just so people know, because you've heard both now. I was listening to Congress yesterday about all the illegal immigrants that got in. Technically, they're not illegal because they've been legalized by the executive branch. They're legally here. And that's why there's a difference between, we'll say, illegal immigrants or aliens, which, oh, by the way, they got into a huge fight the other day. Who was it? I forgot. A member of the squad said aliens was, I don't know if it was xenophobic or racist or something. And they had to, they struck, I think it was Tlaib said it, and they struck her, they said, sorry, that's stricken from the record, because that's the official, alien is the official designation and the word used by the U.S. government and the Border Patrol. But that's why we've always said it was into New York City, you have migrants and illegal immigrants, because it's both. But in the DeSantis camp, what they're doing is they're taking videos. And so they took these videos and they simply said, here's what's going on. Here's a consent form. And they show all these, migrants filling out, the entire contract, that they're writing us to, this is the contract, and this is this is our approval that we wish to do this. Then they talked to, they were prepared for this. The DeSantis, it would be the administration. It wouldn't be the campaign for this, because this would be official. So it wouldn't be his presidential campaign. This would be his state administration. Came out and they showed, and Fox News was showing the party bus. It looked like they were in a party bus, and they're all, fists in the air like, yeah, and talking about going to California and how excited they were to go to California and all that. And so they really, when you had that process going on, you really can't make the kidnapping charge stick at all, or the accusation. It's not a charge. The accusation, it sort of becomes stupid when you look at the video. Well, it does become stupid. But then DeSantis talked about it yesterday and asked, what was his response to Newsom calling him a small, pathetic man, and what about taxpayer funds from Florida going to do this and send the migrants to California and other places. Here was DeSantis' response.
These sanctuary jurisdictions are part of the reason we have this problem, because they have endorsed and agitated for these types of open border policies. They have bragged that they are sanctuary jurisdictions. They attack the previous administration's efforts to try to have border security. And so that's the policies they've staken out. And then what? When they have to deal with some of the fruits of that, they all of a sudden become very, very upset about that. Well, what are these people having to deal with here? I don't see the sympathy for them. And so, the reality is I think the border should be closed. I don't think we should have any of this. But if there's a policy to have an open border, then I think the sanctuary jurisdictions should be the ones that have to bear that. We're not a sanctuary in Florida. And yes, we know people want to come, and so the more we can divert before we even have to get there is good for our state. And this policy's been debated now for a long time. It got overwhelming support from the legislature. These were things that I had to go to them. I wasn't just doing it on my own, and I think it's been something that's been, that's been very, very effective. And you can see why some people, when they're coming illegally, a place like California, they give benefits. They give unemployment checks. They do all that. And so you could see why some of those folks were interested in going that direction. In Florida, we've gone the opposite way. We say, we're going to have a legal workforce. We're not going to have benefits. We're not going to do that. And basically trying to disincentivize it. Other states have tried to incentivize it. And so I think they should be the ones to pay, to do it. Why don't we all just come together and say the current policy is a failure? Any country worth its salt would have control over its own borders. We have too many Americans dying, and this is totally unacceptable. And let's get the federal government to do to reverse course. I don't see that from those areas. I see basically just complaints about it, about if people show up there, but I don't see them willing to address the underlying problem, which is the failed policy. Back in the back.
So there you go. I mean, that's an answer saying, look, they've asked for it. They've told them, they've invited them to come there, that the migrants want to go there. Why? They get benefits. And you really can't win that argument. You can't win that argument. You set yourself up as sanctuary cities. You said, we'll give you benefits. You come here. Come here. Well, fine. So they come into, whether they're illegal or whether they're, I don't think the state of Florida is checking whether they're technically legal migrants or illegal immigrants. They're saying, fine, would you like to go to California? We'll give you a bus ticket and an airplane flight to California. You can get benefits. You can get this. You can get this. You can get this. And then they say yes. They sign the consent form. And like I said, the video just made it seem like they were awfully happy to go. And so they covered it seems like they covered their legal base here. But the fact is, California's upset. They're all upset because, and this is across the board. We saw this, we've seen this with health care. We saw it with health care in California, in Colorado, and in Vermont. That we want this, we want this, we want this. Well, once they had to pay for it, once you couldn't put the burden of health care on your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, then they didn't want it. They only want it if somebody else will pay for it. And this is becoming a pattern with the left. And the same with sanctuary cities. And like I said, this reminds me of the Seinfeld episode with, renting a car. Remember, they put in, you know how to take the reservation. You don't know how to keep the reservation. You take the reservation, but you have no car when I get here. Well, the whole part of the reservation is having a car when I get here, not taking the reservation and not having a car there. Isn't taking a reservation. And it's the same thing here. You're a sanctuary city. You claim you've been promoting it for years. Come here, come here. In fact, we have benefits. So another state says, oh, by the way, we don't have benefits. We don't have this. We don't have that. You can't work here. You can do all those things in this particular state. And you get benefits on top. Do you want to go? Yeah. So they go, and then the Newsom screaming, kidnapping, kidnapping, kidnapping. It sounds quite xenophobic to me, doesn't it? To throw out that charge, I think, is just Newsom attempting to hide his xenophobia. Am I wrong? Can you prove me wrong on that? DeSantis did say, hey, if these cities should say, okay, hey, sorry, we're not going to be sanctuary cities anymore. He goes, they're not doing that. Actually, Adams tried to do that in New York City. In fact, he went to court. Whatever happened to that case? I got to check on that one. That was about 2 weeks ago that he was trying to temporarily suspend being a sanctuary city. Eric and I, we lost it on that one. We're a sanctuary city, and people are coming for sanctuary. Well, no, we got to stop being a sanctuary city until people don't want to come here anymore, and then we'll go back to being a sanctuary city. How does that sound? Because that's what Adams is saying. Well, you should have been prepared for this. You should be upset at Biden allowing everybody into this country. You ought to be upset. What do you think's going to happen? How come Biden's not helping us? Because you said you'd take care of it. You said we're going to be a sanctuary. And by the way, when you said you're going to be a sanctuary city, what you said was we're not going to abide by the federal government's rules and regulations. We're not going to abide by the government. We're going to ignore the federal government. And so you've said we're going to ignore the federal government. Now you want the federal government help? I'm telling you, they're all over the place. This is a wonderful liberal circular firing squad, is it not? They're just, those shots are being fired in every single direction here. We're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary city. Come here, come here, come here. Oh, okay, fine. We're another state. We tell them to go there. We tell them you want them there. We tell them they can get benefits there, which they can't get here. They go there, and you start screaming, it's kidnapping! Great stuff. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. All right, so the Pentagon said they have no verifiable information of any alien spacecraft with bodies in them that have been recovered by the U.S. government. So somebody get a hold of Randy Quaid. All right. He was in Independence Day. Remember, they had brought him aboard the ship. But it was interesting how quickly the Pentagon responded to that whistleblower accusation. We'll see where that leads. The other thing is, I think it was right at this time yesterday that, I had no idea that the chief executive of CNN was going to be blown out. But we just were getting into a small conversation. Not short conversation, not small. All of our conversations are large. It's not a fat joke. But we had said that whether it's Bud Light or Target or CNN, where do you go? Well, they blew out Chris Licht yesterday, the chief executive. I still have no idea where they go. I'm CNN. I have no idea. I'll be honest when I don't know. If I believe I know where a company should go, or when we talk about where we believe politicians should go or what their niche would be, but I have no idea what Bud Light does. Just don't have any idea. I don't know how they can regain that market share. Same thing for Target. And then it was, I saw the story yesterday that Bud Light was involved in some all-ages drag show that had come out, and they were still involved in it. I'm like, wow. Wow. But CNN, I just don't know where they go. I have no idea. Because you saw, everybody at CNN threw a fit if they were going to, Mike Pence, interview Mike Pence. You can't do that. Well, you mean you can't interview a Republican candidate now? Where do they go? Do they try to go as far left as and wacko as a Rachel Maddow on MSNBC? Do they try to become a Rachel Maddow where was it a Clinton judge or the Obama judge said everybody knows that Rachel Maddow doesn't deal in the truth? Everybody knows it. You cannot find that she has defamed everybody because there's an expectation, just like the Babylon Bee, that everything she says isn't true. Is that what CNN has to do? Is that where they have to go? I don't know. I don't know how they rebuild it. We said very early on that going just news wasn't going to cut it because everything had changed since CNN, first came into existence decades ago.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.